Commander Jake Martinez sat in his office chair and stared at the message on his screen. He read it 3 times before he finally understood what it meant. The words made no sense to him at first. All crew members from species classified as Deathworlders must complete mandatory safety training within 30 days. Failure to comply will result in immediate work suspension and possible deportation from all Galactic Council territories. Jake rubbed his forehead and called his team to the main meeting room. The crew of the human section aboard Kepler's Rest had been working together for 2 years. They knew each other well and trusted each other completely. Lisa Chang arrived first. She was their best pilot and could fly anything with engines. She had short black hair and always wore her lucky blue jacket. Lisa had flown rescue missions in asteroid fields and had never lost a ship or a crew member. Bobby Turner came in next, wiping grease from his hands with an old rag. He was their chief engineer and could fix anything that broke. Bobby was tall and thin with red hair that stuck up in all directions. He had once kept a ship running for 6 months with nothing but spare parts and creativity. Karen White entered carrying her medical bag. She was their doctor and had saved more lives than anyone could count. Karen had blonde hair that she kept in a neat ponytail and green eyes that missed nothing. She had performed surgery in zero gravity during combat situations. Alex Rodriguez was the last to arrive. He was their security chief and had kept them safe through dozens of dangerous missions. Alex was short and muscular with dark hair and a quiet voice. He had fought pirates, smugglers, and hostile aliens without ever losing a fight. Jake looked at his team and felt proud. These were good people who did hard jobs in dangerous places. They were professionals who knew their work and did it well. "We have a problem," Jake said. He turned his screen so they could all see the message. "The Galactic Safety Council says we need safety training." Lisa laughed. "Safety training? We've been doing this job for years. What could they possibly teach us?" Bobby looked confused. "What kind of safety training? We already know how to work safely in space." Karen frowned. "This doesn't make sense. Our safety record is perfect. We've never had a serious accident." Alex read the message carefully. "It says all Deathworlders need training. That means us because we're from Earth." Jake nodded. "The instructor is coming tomorrow. His name is Veltar 9 Cautions. He's from the Zephyrian species." 9 Cautions? Lisa asked. "That's his actual name?" "Apparently all Zephyrians have names that describe their personality," Jake explained. "They're known for being very careful about everything." Bobby scratched his head. "How careful can you be in space? Either you do things right or you die. There's no middle ground." Karen pulled up information about Zephyrians on her tablet. "It says here that they live on a planet with very low gravity and no dangerous weather. They have no natural predators and no poisonous plants or animals." "Sounds boring," Alex said. "It also says they have 17 different safety checks for opening doors," Karen continued. "And they wear protective suits when they drink hot liquids." The team looked at each other in disbelief. They were used to working in conditions that would terrify most aliens. They had repaired hull breaches while wearing only basic spacesuits. They had fought fires in oxygen-rich environments. They had worked in gravity fields that would crush most other species. "How long is this training?" Lisa asked. Jake checked the message again. 3 weeks, full-time. We have to attend every session or we fail." 3 weeks? Bobby exclaimed. "We have work to do. The station needs maintenance, and we have 2 rescue missions scheduled. The training takes priority." Jake said, "If we don't complete it, we can't work anywhere in Galactic Council space. That means no jobs, no pay, and no home." Alex looked serious. "We don't have a choice. We have to do this training," Karen sighed. "At least it might be interesting. We'll learn how other species think about safety." The next morning, the team gathered in Conference Room 7. The room had been modified for the training with special chairs and equipment. Everything looked new and expensive. Veltar 9 Cautions arrived precisely on time. He was tall and thin with pale blue skin. He wore a full environmental suit with a clear helmet. The suit had warning lights, sensors, and multiple displays showing his vital signs. "Greetings, dangerous beings," Veltar said through his suit speaker system. "I am your safety instructor. I must inform you that teaching Deathworlders is considered extremely hazardous duty in my species." Jake tried not to smile. "We're pleased to meet you, Veltar. We're looking forward to learning about galactic safety standards." Veltar activated a scanning device that beeped and flashed as it examined each human. "Remarkable. You are not wearing any protective equipment. Are you not concerned about the dangerous atmosphere in this room?" Lisa looked around the room. "What's dangerous about it? The air is normal. The temperature is comfortable. The gravity is standard." "The gravity is one full planetary unit," Veltar said in horror. "That is crushingly heavy. The atmospheric pressure could cause spontaneous lung rupture. The oxygen content is high enough to support combustion." Bobby looked confused. "This is normal for us. We live in conditions like this every day." Veltar made notes on his tablet with shaking hands. "Fascinating and terrifying. No wonder your species is classified as Deathworlders. You exist in a constant state of mortal peril." Karen tried to be helpful. "We're really quite safe. Humans have been living in these conditions for thousands of years." "Impossible," Veltar said. "No species could survive long-term exposure to such extreme conditions. You must have special medical treatments or genetic modifications." Alex shook his head. "We're completely natural. This is just how humans are." Veltar's scanner beeped frantically as it detected Alex's heartbeat and breathing rate. "Your vital signs indicate you are in a state of constant stress. Are you experiencing a medical emergency?" "I'm fine," Alex said. "I'm just sitting here listening to you talk." "But your heart rate is over 60 beats per minute," Veltar exclaimed. "That indicates extreme physical exertion or panic." Jake realized this was going to be a long 3 weeks. "Veltar, maybe we should start with the basics. What exactly will you be teaching us?" Veltar consulted his tablet. "We will begin with fundamental safety concepts. Proper breathing techniques to avoid oxygen poisoning. Safe methods for consuming liquids without drowning. Correct posture too. Prevent skeletal collapse under gravity stress." The humans exchanged glances. They were beginning to understand that this training was designed for beings much more fragile than themselves. "We will also cover advanced topics," Veltar continued. "Emergency procedures for minor temperature variations. Safe methods for opening containers without causing explosions. Proper techniques for walking without falling and causing catastrophic injury." Lisa bit her lip to keep from laughing. "This sounds very thorough. Safety is no laughing matter," Veltar said seriously. "Deathworlders have a reputation for taking unnecessary risks. My job is to teach you how to exist safely in civilized environments." Bobby raised his hand. "What if we already know how to do these things safely?" Veltar looked shocked. "Impossible. If you knew proper safety procedures, you would not be classified as Deathworlders. The classification exists specifically for species that cannot maintain safe living conditions." Karen tried again. "But we've been working safely for years. We have perfect safety records." "That is clearly a statistical anomaly," Veltar replied. "Luck cannot replace proper training. We will begin immediately with breathing exercises." Jake settled back in his chair and prepared for the strangest 3 weeks of his life. He had a feeling that this training would be unlike anything they had ever experienced. The instructor seemed genuinely terrified of them, and they hadn't even done anything yet. Veltar began setting up his equipment for the first lesson. "We will start with the most basic safety skill, Controlled breathing in a dangerous atmosphere. Please observe carefully, as your lives depend on mastering this technique. The humans watched in amazement as their instructor prepared to teach them how to breathe. Veltar 9 Caution stood at the front of the training room wearing his full protective suit. His scanner devices beeped constantly as they monitored the dangerous human sitting before him. He had spent the entire night reviewing emergency protocols in case the training session went wrong. Today we begin with the most critical safety skill, Veltar announced. Proper breathing techniques in hazardous atmospheres. Many Deathworlder accidents occur because of improper oxygen intake. Jake Martinez watched as the instructor demonstrated the correct way to breathe. Veltar took tiny, careful breaths through his suit's filtration system. Each breath was measured and controlled. You must never take deep breaths, Veltar explained. Deep breathing can cause oxygen toxicity, lung damage, and loss of consciousness. Always breathe in small, safe amounts. Lisa Chang raised her hand. What about when we need more oxygen? Like during physical exercise or emergency situations? Veltar's scanner alarms went off immediately. Physical exercise, emergency situations? These are extremely dangerous activities that should never be attempted without proper medical supervision and safety equipment. But we exercise every day, Bobby Turner said. We have to stay in shape for our jobs. Impossible, Veltar replied, making frantic notes on his tablet. Exercise increases heart rate, breathing rate, and body temperature to dangerous levels. No rational being would voluntarily engage in such risky behavior, Karen White tried to explain. Our bodies are designed for physical activity. We need exercise to stay healthy. Veltar stared at her in horror. Your species deliberately damages itself for entertainment? This explains why you are classified as Deathworlders. Alex Rodriguez decided to change the subject. What's the next part of the lesson? Veltar consulted his teaching materials. We will now practice safe liquid consumption. Many accidents occur when beings attempt to drink dangerous substances. He produced a small cup filled with water. The cup was no bigger than a shot glass and made of soft, flexible material. This is a standard safety drinking vessel, Veltar explained. It holds exactly the right amount of liquid for safe consumption. The material is designed to prevent injury if accidentally compressed. Lisa looked at the tiny cup. How much water is in there? 30 milliliters, Veltar answered proudly. The maximum safe amount for a single consumption event. Bobby did quick math in his head. That's about 1 ounce. How are we supposed to stay hydrated with such small amounts? You must wait 15 minutes between each consumption event, Veltar said. This allows your digestive system to safely process the liquid without being overwhelmed. Karen pulled out her own water bottle. It held 24 ounces of water. She took a long drink without thinking about it. Veltar's entire suit began flashing red warning lights. His scanner devices screamed with alarm sounds. He stumbled backward and nearly fell over. Medical emergency, Veltar shouted. She has consumed 800 times the safe amount of liquid. Call for immediate medical assistance. I'm fine, Karen said calmly. I just took a drink of water. You will suffer catastrophic organ failure within minutes, Veltar insisted. No being can survive such massive liquid intake. Jake tried to calm the panicked instructor. Humans drink much more water than that every day. We need about 2 liters of water daily to stay healthy. Veltar nearly fainted. 2 liters? That is over 66 safe consumption events. Your entire species should be extinct from water poisoning. Alex watched as Veltar frantically called for medical support on his emergency communicator. 3 Zephyrian medical technicians arrived within 5 minutes. They were all wearing full hazmat suits and carrying emergency equipment. Where is the victim? The lead medic asked. Veltar pointed at Karen. She consumed massive amounts of liquid. She should be unconscious or dead by now. The medic scanned Karen with his instruments. Her vital signs are completely normal. There is no evidence of liquid poisoning. Impossible, Veltar said. The scanners must be malfunctioning. The medical team spent 20 minutes examining Karen. They tested her blood, checked her organs, and monitored her brain activity. Everything was perfectly normal. We find no medical emergency, the lead medic reported. This being appears to be in excellent health. After the medical team left, Veltar sat down heavily in his chair. His hands were shaking as he updated his teaching notes. Perhaps we should move to the next lesson, Jake suggested. Veltar nodded weakly. Safe posture and movement techniques. Many injuries occur when beings attempt to change position without proper preparation. He stood up very slowly, using multiple support handles built into his chair. Each movement was careful and deliberate. It took him nearly a minute to achieve a standing position. This is the correct method for rising from a seated position, Veltar explained. Notice how I use support structures and move slowly to avoid injury. Lisa stood up normally, without using her hands or any support. She moved quickly and smoothly. Veltar's scanners detected the rapid movement and began beeping again. Dangerous locomotion detected. Please demonstrate proper standing technique. I am standing properly, Lisa said. This is how humans stand. Up, but you moved so quickly, Veltar protested. Rapid movement can cause muscle damage, joint failure, and loss of balance. Bobby stood up the same way Lisa had. Then Alex and Karen did the same. All four humans were now standing normally while Veltar stared at them in amazement. Your species has remarkable healing abilities, Veltar said. You must recover very quickly from constant injuries. We don't get injured from standing up. Jake explained. Human bodies are designed for movement. Veltar made more notes. Fascinating. Your skeletal and muscular systems must be much stronger than normal species. What's normal for other species? Karen asked. Veltar thought about it. Most civilized species can lift objects weighing up to 5 pounds safely. They can walk for up to 10 minutes without rest. They can stand for up to 30 minutes without support. The humans looked at each other in surprise. These limitations seemed impossibly restrictive. What about work requirements? Alex asked. How do they do physical jobs? Physical jobs are performed by machines, Veltar explained. No rational being would risk injury by lifting heavy objects or working in dangerous conditions. Bobby was curious. What do you consider a heavy object? Anything over 5 pounds requires mechanical assistance, Veltar replied. Manual lifting of such weights could cause permanent injury. Lisa remembered her pilot training. I've lifted 100-pound equipment by myself during emergency repairs. Veltar's tablet slipped from his hands and clattered to the floor. 100 pounds? That is impossible. No living being has that much strength. Jake bent down and picked up the tablet. It weighed about 2 pounds. Here's your tablet. Thank you, Veltar said automatically. Then he realized what had happened. You lifted my tablet without mechanical assistance. It's not heavy, Jake said. Veltar examined his tablet carefully. This device weighs 2.3 pounds. That is nearly half the safe lifting limit. Alex tried to be helpful. Would you like to see our normal work equipment? No, Veltar said quickly. I think I understand why your species is classified as Deathworlders. You regularly perform activities that would kill most other beings. The instructor looked through his lesson plans. Perhaps we should skip the physical safety sections and move to environmental hazards. What kind of environmental hazards? Karen asked. Temperature variations, Veltar replied. Most beings can only survive in very narrow temperature ranges. We will learn how to recognize dangerous temperature conditions. He adjusted the room's climate control. I am now raising the temperature by 2 degrees. This represents a significant environmental hazard. The humans didn't notice any change. The room felt exactly the same to them. "Can you feel the dangerous temperature increase?" Veltar asked. "Not really," Lisa admitted. "It feels the same as before." Veltar checked his instruments. "The temperature is now 22 degrees Celsius. This is approaching the danger zone for most species." Bobby was confused. "What's the normal temperature range?" "Safe temperatures are between 18 and 21 degrees Celsius, Veltar explained. "Anything outside this range requires protective equipment." Jake realized that humans were comfortable in much wider temperature ranges. They had worked in conditions from freezing cold to desert heat. What about other environmental factors? Alex asked. Veltar consulted his teaching materials. "We will cover dangerous lighting conditions, hazardous sound levels, and toxic atmospheric components." "Like what?" Karen asked. "Bright lights can cause permanent eye damage," Veltar explained. "Safe lighting levels are very dim. Loud sounds can rupture hearing organs. Safe sound levels are barely audible whispers." Lisa thought about the noisy engine rooms where she had worked. "How do you communicate in loud environments?" "You don't," Veltar replied. "Loud environments are too dangerous for any being to enter." The humans were beginning to understand just how different they were from the rest of the galaxy. They were tougher, stronger, and more adaptable than anyone had realized. "Tomorrow we will study emergency procedures," Veltar announced. "We will learn how to respond safely to minor crisis situations." Jake wondered what Veltar would consider a minor crisis. Based on today's lessons, it would probably be something who. The second week of safety training began with Veltar 9 cautions, looking even more nervous than usual. He had spent the weekend reviewing his notes and consulting with other Zephyrian safety experts. None of them had ever trained Deathworlders before. "Today we begin practical emergency exercises," Veltar announced through his protective suit. "These simulations will test your ability to respond safely to dangerous situations." Jake Martinez and his team sat in the training room along with 6 other alien students. The other students were from various species that lived on peaceful garden worlds. They all looked worried about the upcoming exercises. "Our first simulation involves a minor atmospheric emergency," Veltar explained. "The room's air pressure will drop by 0.2%. This represents a serious life-threatening situation." Lisa Chang looked confused. 0.2%? That's barely noticeable. For most species, even small pressure changes can cause panic, breathing difficulties, and loss of consciousness, Veltar replied. "Proper emergency response is critical for survival." He activated the simulation system. Warning lights began flashing red. A gentle alarm sounded. The room's air pressure dropped by the tiny amount Veltar had mentioned. The alien students immediately panicked. They grabbed emergency breathing masks and ran toward the designated safe zones. Some of them were hyperventilating. Others were calling for medical assistance. The humans sat calmly in their chairs and continued listening to Veltar's instructions. "Why are you not evacuating?" Veltar asked in alarm. "This is a life-threatening emergency." Bobby Turner shrugged. "We don't feel anything different. The air seems fine." "Impossible," Veltar said. He checked his instruments frantically. "The pressure has definitely decreased. You should be experiencing severe respiratory distress." Karen White took a deep breath to demonstrate. "I feel completely normal. This pressure change is too small to affect humans." Alex Rodriguez nodded. "We've worked in actual vacuum conditions during spacewalks. This doesn't even register as a pressure change." Veltar made rapid notes on his tablet. "Remarkable resistance to atmospheric variations, possibly due to enhanced lung capacity or modified respiratory systems." He ended the first simulation and prepared the second one. "We will now test your response to dangerous temperature fluctuations. The room temperature will increase by 5 degrees above normal. The temperature slowly rose from 22 degrees to 27 degrees Celsius. For the humans, this felt pleasantly warm and comfortable. The alien students immediately put on cooling suits and activated personal climate control devices. They moved to shaded areas and began drinking specially cooled liquids. Lisa took off her jacket and rolled up her sleeves. This feels nice. It's like a warm spring day. Veltar's scanner alarms went off again. You are removing protective clothing during a heat emergency. This could result in thermal injury or death. I'm more comfortable without the jacket, Lisa explained. Humans can handle much higher temperatures than this. Bobby remembered his training on desert planets. I've worked in temperatures over 40 degrees Celsius. This feels cool compared to that. 40 degrees? Veltar nearly fainted. That temperature would kill most beings within minutes. Karen tried to be helpful. Human body temperature is normally 37 degrees Celsius. We're designed to work in warm conditions. Veltar had to sit down. His protective suit was working overtime to keep him cool in what he considered dangerously hot conditions. The third simulation involved equipment handling. Veltar wheeled in a box that was marked with multiple danger warnings. This container holds 30 pounds of emergency supplies, he explained. It represents the maximum safe lifting weight for emergency situations. You must use proper mechanical lifting devices to move it safely. He demonstrated the correct procedure using a complex system of pulleys, levers, and support straps. It took him 15 minutes to move the box 3 feet. Now you will practice the safe lifting technique, Veltar said. Alex walked over to the box and picked it up with one hand. He carried it easily to the designated location and set it down gently. The alien students gasped in amazement. Some of them took pictures with their communication devices. Veltar stared at Alex in shock. How did you do that? That box weighs 30 pounds. It's not very heavy, Alex replied. I carry heavier things every day as part of my job. But 30 pounds exceeds the safe lifting limit for all known species, Veltar protested. Bobby laughed. I once carried a 200-pound engine part up 3 flights of stairs during an emergency repair. Veltar's tablet fell from his hands again. This time Jake caught it before it hit the floor. 200 pounds? Veltar whispered. That's impossible. No living being has that much strength. Humans are pretty strong, Jake said. We evolved on a high-gravity world with dangerous predators. We needed to be tough to survive. Karen added, human muscles and bones are much denser than most species. We can lift, carry, and move things that would be impossible for others. Veltar called for another medical team to examine the humans. He was convinced they must have mechanical enhancements or genetic modifications. The medical team arrived and spent 2 hours scanning the humans with every device they had. They found no artificial enhancements, no mechanical parts, and no genetic modifications. These beings are completely natural, the lead medic reported. Their physical capabilities are simply much higher than standard galactic norms. After the medical team left, Veltar tried to continue with the training. He was clearly shaken by what he had witnessed. Our next exercise involves emergency nutrition, he announced weakly. You will learn to safely consume emergency food supplies. He produced several small packages of emergency rations. Each package was about the size of a candy bar and contained what looked like compressed powder. These emergency rations contain all necessary nutrients for survival, Veltar explained. Each package provides safe nutrition for 1 full day. The taste is carefully designed to be pleasant and non-threatening. He opened one package and showed them the contents. It looked like bland, colorless paste. You must eat very slowly and chew thoroughly, Veltar instructed. Rapid consumption could cause digestive system overload. Lisa tasted a small amount of the emergency ration. Her face immediately showed disgust. This tastes awful. It has no flavor at all. Flavor can be dangerous, Veltar explained. Strong tastes can cause allergic reactions or digestive problems. Safe food should be as bland as possible. Bobby was curious about human military rations. Karen, don't we have some MREs in our emergency supplies? I think so, Karen replied. Want me to get them? What are MREs? Veltar asked. Meals ready to eat, Jake explained. Military field rations that human soldiers eat during combat operations. Karen returned with several MRE packages. Each one was much larger than Veltar's emergency rations and contained multiple components. This is beef stew with vegetables, Karen said, opening one package. It also comes with crackers, cheese spread, chocolate, and a fruit drink. The smell of the beef stew filled the room. It smelled rich, savory, and completely unlike anything the aliens had ever experienced. Veltar sensors detected the strong odors and immediately classified them as potentially toxic. Those chemical compounds could be poisonous. How can you safely consume such dangerous substances? They taste good, Lisa said, trying some of the stew. Much better than your emergency rations. Alex opened another MRE that contained spicy chicken and rice. The smell was even stronger. This one has hot spices, Alex noted. Some humans like food that burns their mouth a little. Burns your mouth? Veltar was horrified. You deliberately consume substances that cause tissue damage? It doesn't actually hurt us, Bobby explained. Humans enjoy spicy food. We have tolerance for many flavors that other species might find overwhelming. Karen pulled out a bottle of hot sauce from her personal supplies. Some humans put this on their food to make it spicier. She put a few drops of hot sauce on her MRE. The chemical sensors in Veltar's suit immediately detected what they classified as dangerous toxins. Medical emergency, Veltar shouted. She has consumed industrial solvent. Call for immediate stomach evacuation procedures. It's just hot sauce, Karen said calmly. Humans eat this all the time. But Veltar was already calling for emergency medical assistance. Within minutes, the room was filled with alien medical technicians wearing full protective gear. Where is the poisoning victim? The lead medic asked. She consumed concentrated capsaicin solution, Veltar explained. She should be experiencing severe chemical burns throughout her digestive system. The medical team examined Karen thoroughly. They found no signs of poisoning, burning, or tissue damage. Her digestive system appears to be functioning normally, the medic reported. There is no evidence of chemical exposure. But she consumed liquid fire, Veltar insisted. How can she survive such toxins? Jake tried to explain. Humans evolved eating many different plants and animals. Some of them had natural defenses like spicy chemicals. We developed tolerance for these substances over thousands of years. The medical team packed up their equipment and left, shaking their heads in confusion. Veltar sat down heavily and stared at his notes. Your species can survive atmospheric changes, temperature extremes, heavy lifting, and chemical poisoning. The third week of training began with Veltar 9 cautions looking determined but nervous. He had worked all weekend designing what he called advanced Deathworlder emergency scenarios. The training room had been completely redesigned with new equipment and safety systems. Today we begin the final examination, Veltar announced to the mixed group of students. This comprehensive simulation will test everything you have learned during the past 2 weeks. Jake Martinez looked around the room. The alien students seemed terrified. They had watched the humans easily handle every previous exercise, and they knew today would be much harder. The simulation involves multiple emergency situations happening at the same time, Veltar explained. You will face atmospheric problems, equipment failures, fire hazards, and structural damage. Each emergency has been carefully designed with multiple safety systems and backup procedures. Lisa Chang noticed that Veltar's protective suit had extra warning lights and emergency equipment today. How dangerous is this simulation? For normal species, it represents the maximum safe level of emergency training, Veltar replied. For Deathworlders, I have increased the difficulty by 15%. Bobby Turner wondered what a 15% increase meant to someone who thought a 5-degree temperature change was life-threatening. The simulation will begin with a minor hull breach in Storage Bay 7, Veltar continued. Standard procedure is immediate evacuation followed by emergency sealing protocols. Alex Rodriguez had dealt with real hull breaches before. How big is this breach? 3 centimeters in diameter, Veltar said. Large enough to cause rapid decompression and atmospheric loss. Karen White tried not to smile. A 3-centimeter hole was tiny compared to the damage she had seen during actual emergencies. Veltar activated the simulation. Immediately, warning alarms began sounding throughout the station. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Emergency announcements echoed from speakers. Hull breach detected in Storage Bay 7, the computer announced. All personnel evacuate. Immediately, atmospheric integrity compromised. The alien students panicked instantly. They grabbed emergency breathing equipment and ran toward the evacuation zones. Some were crying. Others were calling for help on their communication devices. The humans calmly stood up and walked toward Storage Bay 7. Where are you going? Veltar shouted. You must evacuate immediately. The area is too dangerous for any living being. We're going to fix the hull breach, Jake replied. Impossible, Veltar said. No one can survive in a decompression zone without full environmental suits. But the humans had already left the training room. They arrived at Storage Bay 7 and found a small hole in the outer wall. The hole was exactly 3 centimeters wide, just as Veltar had said. This is barely a leak, Lisa observed. The air was rushing out slowly, making a soft whistling sound. Bobby examined the damage. I can patch this in about 2 minutes with standard repair putty. He pulled emergency repair materials from a nearby supply locker. The putty was designed for temporary hull repairs during emergencies. Karen monitored the atmospheric readings. We're losing air pressure slowly. At this rate, it would take 6 hours to become dangerous. Alex checked the area for other damage. Everything else looks fine. This is the only breach. Bobby applied the repair putty to the hole. The putty hardened quickly and stopped the air leak completely. The atmospheric pressure stabilized immediately. Hull breach repaired, Alex reported over his communicator. Back in the training room, Veltar stared at his monitoring equipment in disbelief. They went into the danger zone. They should be dead or unconscious by now. Hull breach successfully sealed, the computer announced. Atmospheric integrity restored. How is that possible? Veltar demanded. The simulation was designed to require remote repair procedures using robotic equipment. The humans returned to the training room 5 minutes after they had left. The hole is fixed, Bobby reported. Standard repair procedures, no problems. Veltar's scanners showed that all 4 humans were in perfect health. They showed no signs of decompression sickness, oxygen deprivation, or radiation exposure. You entered a deadly environment without protection, Veltar said weakly. It wasn't deadly, Karen explained. Small hull breaches are routine problems. We've fixed dozens of them during our careers. Veltar frantically updated his simulation parameters. Emergency situation 2. Power grid failure with fire suppression system offline. New alarms began sounding. The lights in Storage Bay 7 went out. Emergency lighting activated, bathing everything in dim red light. Electrical fire detected, the computer announced. Fire suppression systems offline. Evacuate immediately. The alien students, who had just started to calm down, panicked again. They ran toward the emergency exits while calling for firefighting teams. The humans looked at each other and headed back towards Storage Bay 7. "There's smoke coming from the electrical panel," Lisa reported over her communicator. "I see the problem," Bobby said. "Overloaded circuit caused by the hull breach repair. The temporary power routing is carrying too much current." Alex opened an emergency toolkit. "I'll shut off power to this section while you reroute the circuits." "Be careful," Karen warned. "If that panel catches fire, we'll need to put it out manually." Bobby worked quickly to reroute the electrical circuits around the damaged section. The work required him to reach into tight spaces behind the control panels. Meanwhile, Alex monitored the electrical readings and shut off power to dangerous areas. Lisa provided light using a handheld emergency lamp. Within 10 minutes, they had rerouted the power grid and eliminated the fire hazard. The normal lighting came back on. "Electrical emergency resolved," Jake reported. "All systems functioning normally." Veltar was speechless. His simulation showed that the humans had performed emergency electrical work in a hazardous environment without any protective equipment. They completed a task that should require a full engineering team, specialized safety gear, he muttered. Computer announced the next phase. Catastrophic atmospheric contamination detected. Toxic gas leak in ventilation system. This time, Veltar expected the humans to evacuate like everyone else. Instead, they headed directly toward the ventilation controls. "What kind of toxic gas?" Karen asked, checking her medical scanner. "According to the simulation, it's industrial cleaning solvent vapor," Bobby replied, reading the emergency display. "That's not too dangerous if we don't breathe too much of it," Alex said. "We just need to fix the leak quickly." Lisa traced the source of the leak to a broken valve in the ventilation system. "Here's the problem. The valve seal is cracked." "I can replace that," Bobby said. "Karen, monitor our exposure levels while I work." They worked as a team to replace the broken valve. Karen watched their vital signs and warned them when to step away for fresh air. Alex and Lisa assisted with tools and parts. The repair took 15 minutes. During that time, they were exposed to what the simulation considered lethal levels of toxic gas. "Atmospheric contamination eliminated," the computer announced. Veltar checked his medical scanners. The humans showed no signs of poisoning or respiratory damage. "How are you still alive?" he asked in amazement. "We held our breath when necessary and worked quickly," Jake explained. "The gas wasn't concentrated enough to be immediately dangerous." By now, the alien students were hiding in the emergency shelter. They refused to come out until the simulation was completely finished. Veltar tried one final test. Maximum emergency scenario. Complete station power failure with life support offline. All the lights went out. The air circulation stopped. Emergency power failed to activate. According to the simulation, everyone had 30 minutes of remaining air before suffocation. The humans went to work immediately. Bobby and Alex headed for the main power plant. Lisa and Karen began checking backup life support systems. "I found the problem," Bobby reported from the power plant. "Main circuit breaker tripped due to the electrical overloads from the previous emergencies." "Backup life support is working, but not connected," Karen added. "Someone just needs to throw the manual activation switch." "I'm resetting the main power now," Bobby said. "Activating backup life support," Karen reported. Within 20 minutes, they had restored both main power and life support systems to full operation. The simulation was supposed to last 4 hours with multiple teams of specialists. The humans had solved every problem in less than 2 hours by themselves. Veltar sat down and stared at his simulation controls. Everything had been completed successfully, but not in any way he had expected. They didn't follow any of the safety protocols, he whispered to himself. They just fixed everything directly. Jake approached the exhausted instructor. "How did we do on the examination?" Veltar looked up at him with a mixture of awe and confusion. "You completed tasks that should be impossible for any living being. You entered hazardous environments without protection. You performed repairs that require specialized training and equipment. So did we pass?" Lisa asked. "I don't know," Veltar admitted. "My entire understanding of safety and emergency procedures has been completely overturned. You don't need safety training, you are safety training." The alien students slowly emerged from the emergency shelter. They looked at the humans with expressions of pure amazement and terror. "Huh." Veltar 9 Caution sat alone in his office, staring at the completed safety training report on his computer screen. He had been working on it for 3 days, but the words still seemed impossible to believe. His hands shook as he reviewed the final results one more time. The graduation ceremony was scheduled to begin in 1 hour. Representatives from the Galactic Safety Council would attend via video link to review the training results. Veltar had never been more nervous in his entire life. Jake Martinez and his team arrived early for the ceremony. They wore their best uniforms and looked professional and confident. The other alien students shuffled in quietly, still amazed by what they had witnessed during the final examination. "How do you think we did?" Lisa Chang asked quietly. "I think we confused the instructor," Bobby Turner replied. "He's been acting strange since the final test." Karen White noticed that Veltar looked exhausted. "Maybe we should have followed the safety protocols instead of just fixing everything." "We did what came naturally," Alex Rodriguez said. "We saw problems and we solved them." The video screen activated, showing 3 members of the Galactic Safety Council. They were all from different species, but they shared the same serious expressions. "Instructor Veltar 9 Cautions," the lead counselor said formally. "Please present your training report for review session 847C." Veltar stood up slowly. His protective suit seemed heavier than usual. "Honored counselors, I must begin with an unprecedented statement. This training session has challenged every assumption about safety protocols and emergency procedures." "Explain," the second counselor demanded. Veltar activated his presentation display. The human students completed the mandatory safety training curriculum. However, their performance was unlike anything recorded in Galactic Safety Council history. He showed video footage from the breathing exercises. During atmospheric safety training, the human subjects demonstrated the ability to function normally in conditions that would incapacitate most species. The counselors watched as Karen drank a full bottle of water without ill effects. They consumed dangerous quantities of liquid without experiencing poisoning or organ failure. "How is this possible?" the third counselor asked. "I consulted with medical specialists throughout the training period," Veltar explained. "The humans appear to be naturally adapted to conditions that we classify as extremely hazardous." He showed footage of Alex lifting the 30-pound emergency supply box. With one hand, they demonstrated physical strength levels that exceed our measurement capabilities. The lead counselor leaned forward with interest. "Continue your report." "During emergency simulations, the human subjects did not follow standard safety protocols," Veltar said. "Instead, they entered dangerous areas and directly resolved the emergency situations." The video showed the humans calmly repairing the hull breach while the other students evacuated in panic. They worked in a decompression zone without protective equipment and completed repairs in minutes rather than hours. "This violates every safety regulation in the Galactic Code," the second counselor said. "Yes," Veltar agreed. "But their methods were more effective than our approved procedures." He showed footage of the electrical fire emergency. When faced with power grid failures and fire hazards, they performed complex repairs without specialized safety equipment. The counselors watched Bobby rerouting electrical circuits while standing in a room filled with smoke and damaged equipment. The Toxic gas emergency produced similar results, Veltar continued. They entered the contaminated area and eliminated the hazard while other students required emergency shelter. What are your conclusions? The lead counselor asked. Veltar took a deep breath through his suit's filtration system. Honored counselors, I believe the classification of humans as Deathworlders is incomplete. They are not simply dangerous to themselves. They are adapted to environments that are dangerous to everyone else. He paused to organize his thoughts. Traditional safety training assumes that beings need protection from environmental hazards. Humans appear to be natural protection against environmental hazards. The third counselor looked confused. What do you recommend? I recommend that humans be exempted from standard safety training requirements, Veltar said. Furthermore, I suggest that they be classified as emergency response specialists rather than safety risks. The council members discussed this privately while muting their audio. Jake and his team waited patiently, unsure what to expect. Finally, the lead counselor unmuted their connection. Instructor Veltar, your report is highly unusual. We need to verify these claims. Of course, Veltar replied. All training sessions were recorded and monitored by medical personnel. We will review the documentation and issue our decision within 7 days, the counselor announced. In the meantime, the human subjects are temporarily certified pending final review. After the council ended their connection, Veltar approached the human team. I must apologize to you, he said formally. For what? Jake asked. I spent 3 weeks trying to teach you safety procedures that you clearly do not need, Veltar explained. Your species has evolved beyond the concept of safety as we understand it. Lisa tried to be diplomatic. We learned a lot about how other species think about safety. That's valuable knowledge. You were patient with my ignorance, Veltar continued. I hope you understand that I was genuinely trying to help. You were doing your job, Bobby said. We don't blame you for following regulations. Karen was curious about something. What happens now? Do we get our safety certificates? I have recommended that you receive a new classification, Veltar replied. Emergency response consultants rather than Deathworlder safety students. Alex raised an eyebrow. What does that mean? Veltar pulled up a message on his tablet. I have already received 17 requests from various species who want to learn what they call Deathworlder emergency techniques. They want us to teach them? Jake asked. They want to learn how you can function safely in dangerous environments, Veltar explained. Many species have jobs that require working in conditions similar to what you consider normal. Lisa was intrigued. What kind of jobs? Asteroid mining, deep space rescue, hostile environment research, emergency repair work, Veltar listed. Currently, these jobs require extensive safety equipment and multiple backup systems. Your methods could revolutionize emergency response protocols. Bobby thought about the implications. So instead of learning safety, we would be teaching it? Teaching survival, Veltar corrected. Teaching other species how to remain functional when safety systems fail. Karen realized this could be interesting work. What would we teach them? Basic physical conditioning, stress management, emergency. Improvisation, rapid problem solving, Veltar suggested. Skills that come naturally to humans, but are completely foreign to most other species. Alex was practical. Would this pay better than our current jobs? Veltar smiled for the first time since they had met him. The consulting fees for emergency response training are quite substantial. There is enormous demand for these skills. Jake looked at his team. They seemed interested in the possibility. What would be our first assignment? A Zephyrian engineering crew needs to perform maintenance on a mining station, Veltar replied. The station operates in what we consider extremely dangerous conditions. Normal gravity, standard atmospheric pressure, and room temperatures above 21 degrees. The humans exchanged glances. Those conditions sounded completely normal to them. They specifically requested human instructors after seeing the footage of your training performance, Veltar added. They want to learn what they call advanced Deathworlder survival methods, Lisa laughed. You mean they want to learn how to work in normal conditions? What you consider normal, they consider lethal, Veltar explained. Your expertise could save lives and make dangerous jobs safer for everyone. Jake made a decision. We'll consider it. When do they need an answer? The first training session is scheduled for next week, Veltar said. I have volunteered to observe and document the process. You want to learn too? Bobby asked. I want to understand how your species thinks about danger and safety, Veltar replied. Perhaps I can learn to be less afraid of normal working conditions. Karen thought this sounded promising. Teaching other species how to be more capable instead of more careful. I like that idea, Alex nodded. It beats sitting through more safety lectures about the dangers of standing up too quickly. 3 days later, Jake received an official message from the Galactic Safety Council. The humans had been granted a new classification, Emergency Response, specialists with authority to develop and teach survival protocols for hostile environments. Their first consulting contract was worth more than they had earned in the previous year. The job involved teaching basic emergency skills to species who needed to work in Earth-normal conditions. Jake called his team together to discuss their new career. So we went from needing safety training to being safety trainers. I guess the galaxy needs to learn that sometimes the best safety equipment is just being human, Lisa said. Bobby was already planning the curriculum. We should start with basic physical conditioning. Most of them probably can't even lift 10 pounds safely. We'll need to include stress management techniques, Karen added. They panic over the